All right. Good Monday morning to you. I don't hear myself, Brandon. Now I do. Good Monday morning to everybody. Welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. The strange voice you hear is substitute for Moon, and that would be me. I am Mark Pope, joined by Brandon Como, the regular producer Brandon, across the board over there. Good morning. Good morning.
Good. Good morning. How was your Christmas?
Christmas was great, Brandon. Christmas was great. I was going to segue that. Let me do this just real quick because a lot of folks, I guess I have a little name recognition here in Lafayette, but a lot of folks across the state listening to the Moon Griffon Show say, who is this clown? So just a little brief bio, if you will, on myself. I have been in radio for nearly 28 years as the utility man here at News Talk 96.5 KPEL, actually Town Square Media, which is the station from which the Moon Griffon Show originates. So I've been in radio quite a long time, recently retired with Lafayette City Parish Government, and am pleased and honored to be here. So that's who I am. I've been in radio a long time, done a little bit of TV over the years. So again, just wanted to give the folks a little bit of background before we jumped in it. So as you said, how was Christmas? My Christmas was great, and yours?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
First Christmas, married and all, and we coordinated both sets of families together. Ended up working out very well. Went to her set, not this past weekend, but the one before. Then we had her set come in middle of the week. We went to Acadian Village, which those that are not in the area know. Those in the area know. Those in the area do not know. Acadian Village, and Mark works over there as well, does some volunteer work with them. An absolute unbelievable job at putting on 500,000 Christmas lights, and they make it into a beautiful village setting. And so we did that during the week, and then yesterday went over to my parents' house and had seafood gumbo.
Outstanding.
Oh,
Outstanding. Yeah. Well, like you said, Brandon, newlywed, and this is you and the wife's first venture at Christmas. Yeah. And most families kind of evolve into traditions, if you will. We do this, and I guess not everybody does that, but I think from talking to family and friends, that's pretty much what happens. So it sounds like you had a great one, and we'll see how your traditions unfold over the years. But, yeah, my Christmas was great. Our tradition is we go to my wife's parents', and we have a big New Year's Eve. Listen to me. I'm already thinking toward the new year.
It's coming up, though.
Yeah, exactly. We have a big Christmas Eve gathering, and people in and out. A lot of the same folks come in once in a while. Some folks who aren't normally there will drop in. But it's a big gathering, great time, and we did that, and bam. And then we just have a quiet Christmas day at the house. The wife and I, once in a while, another family member will drop by.
Was it always quiet for y'all? Did y'all travel early on in the marriage, or did y'all just always prefer the quiet Christmas?
No, it's just like I said. My mother's side is from Baton Rouge. Okay. And, of course, as a younger person, we went there quite a bit. And now my family members over in Baton Rouge are kind of dwindling. So I just really have one aunt who we're very close to, and we're going to be going to see her soon. So she had plans for Christmas Day. But no, we never really traveled. Our big thing, even when Marcia and I were dating 20 plus years ago, we would go to Grand Prairie, which is in North St. Landry Parish. I know we have some good listeners out there in that area, in Opelousas area. So it's a big to-do. Everybody brings a dish, and we have the seafood gumbo, and it's not just people getting together. Looks like Santa Claus dropped half his sack in the living room with all the presents there. Yeah. So, but it really is a great time, and the whole thing about the presents and the family and the gathering, and that's all great, Brandon, as you know. But as Moon reminded his listeners on a regular basis, it is a holy time of year, a time that we need to give thanks for our Savior, and that's really what we're celebrating. And I think a large portion of the listeners here to the Moon Griffon Show would have that same attitude. Yeah.
I think so too.
So yeah, it kind of gives me cause to reflect, and of course that's the time of the year, and you're thankful for everything you have, and not everybody can say that, unfortunately, at Christmas time, because as they say, bad things happen to good people, and that's tough when things happen when you lose a loved one or something financially comes into kind of, how shall we say, I don't know, interject itself into Christmas, and you have to deal with those realities of life. But most people, that's the good thing. Even at Christmas time, if those things happen, because it is such a good time of year, and because we're such a generous people here as Americans, I think you can get through those hard times a lot better at Christmas time.
Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely so. So give it, Brandon, I don't know the number. You're going to have to write it down and give it to me. I know it's 844.
There you go. 766 6607.
Okay, so you heard Brandon. If you have anything on your mind, we're really just kind of setting the table, as it were, doing a little review of Christmas. If you have anything on your mind you'd like to bring up, it's kind of an open phone. I'm Mark Pope, sitting in for Moon Griffon, if you just joined us. And that number again, 844-766-6607. You can give us a call. We're going to kind of talk about where we've been here in 2016, because we just have a short time left before we're bringing in a new year. And what for you, Brandon? What is the new year? Well, you don't know. This will be your first new year with the wife. I know you've been with her for a while, but as a married couple, do you guys have plans for the new year?
Not yet. Well, actually, let me skip that. We don't have plans for New Year's Eve yet. We might do what we did last year, but we might not. Kind of open there. We do have plans for New Year's Day though, because New Year's Day is when I proposed. And I did it at Pat's in Henderson. And so we've made that a tradition where on New Year's Day, we'll be going to Pat's and celebrating, the day that I proposed and the day that thankfully she said yes.
I remember that. And because there was, of course, you're being the thoughtful, considerate individual that you are. And correct me if I'm wrong here, if my memory fails me.
Yeah.
But you and the wife had a discussion about marriage and so on and so forth. And she was anxious. And you just said, calm down, baby, calm down. Everything, all good things come in time. And so that was your plan, right, to propose on New Year's Day?
That was my plan, to propose on New Year's Day.
Outstanding.
And not, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. I wanted to do it at a point where she wasn't expecting it.
Right.
But on a day that was still memorable.
Yeah. And it was memorable. Did you surprise her?
Oh, she was definitely surprised because... I don't want to say the cliche thing, because anybody that's gotten, proposed to on New Year's Eve, that's a very special moment. But it's pretty popular to propose to someone on New Year's Eve going into the new year.
Right.
I wanted to let that moment pass because she is one of the hardest people to surprise. Like for her main Christmas gift this year, she was very much trying to break me down to get me to admit what I got her. And she says she loves to be surprised, but she loves to spoil surprises too.
Yeah, yeah.
So my goal was to completely surprise her and catch her off guard, and that's exactly what happened.
I got you.
So it kind of added, I guess, a little bit more to it for me that I was able to catch her off guard.
Got you. Well, in the Pope household, it's New Year's Eve is not a huge thing. I mean, we spend time together. We've on occasion had people over, but it's generally a quiet celebration. We're not big drinkers, so we can have our celebration with good food and good company, just kind of on a quiet, smaller level, if you will. See, we have a caller up?
Yes, we do. Want to go to the phone lines?
Let's go to the phone lines.
All right, caller, go ahead.
Hey, Big Brain, Merry Christmas to you, Mr.
Cornelius, good morning, sir. Happy New Year.
First caller. Yeah, Happy New Year, y'all.
Indeed.
Look, I want to tell y'all something, man. I got my Christmas gift when the Saints won and when Louisiana Tech beat Navy. I was in the Army, so Army beat Navy. And hopefully LSU will beat Louisville, and that'll be my New Year's gift. So
there you go.
Hopefully that'll...
Yeah, Cornelius, I missed that shootout. I wanted to watch it with La Tech and Navy, but I ended up having a bunch of stuff going on. But I saw the final score, and Tech won with like a field goal with, no time left or something like that?
Yeah, that's right, Big Brand.
Man, I missed it. I heard it was offensive fireworks.
So you mentioned, Cornelius, you were in the Army. So do you watch the Army-Navy game every year and pull for the cadets?
Of course.
So it's a big thing. Yeah, it's a good spirited rivalry between Army and Navy. I mean, that's all it is. Of course, everybody who serves in Army or Navy is a good, outstanding American, and it's good natured competition. That's all it is.
he was in the Air Force, and I joined the Army. I was in the 239th Military Police Corps, and it's just and Marines. I got friends in Marines and stuff. So I mean, it's a game, but we all get along. So
sure.
That's the main thing. Got to fight together with Marines, Air Force, Army, Navy, Coast Guard.
That's right.
We all got to fight for one country.
And thank you for your service. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Mark, I'm going to let y'all go because I know the other callers want to get on. And I say, happy and blessed New Year to all of y'all there.
Thank you much, and thanks for the call. Appreciate you.
I got to say this because I wish I could show the picture to him. I'll show it to you off the air, Mark. But one of the coolest gifts I got this Christmas, since Cornelius was talking about his Army days and stuff, is my grandfather fought in World War II. He fought in the Normandy invasion. Okay,
right.
He had a Purple Heart. He had a Good Conduct Medal. He was, it was amazing. His story. He was actually saved. In the Normandy invasion, the Battle of St. Lo, he was saved by a Nazi soldier.
Really?
Yeah. And he was shot in the leg. And so he was actually saved by a Nazi soldier. Well, he had all these medals, the Good Conduct Medal,
right.
the Purple Heart and all that stuff. My wife got together with her mom and made
awesome.
I
don't need to see that off air. I need to see it now. That's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, and it's
that is beautiful.
And it's a picture of my grandfather, back in the hospital, back in the World War II days. And, it's got United States Army decoration around it, and it's got his medals displayed.
That's beautiful. Really is.
It really is. Uh-huh.
So and you say he was saved by a Nazi soldier. What did the Nazi do? Drag him out of the line of fire and into a safe place?
Yeah.
I'll be dang.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's amazing. Look, war is hell. My dad was in World War II. He was a captain, and he, too, he was wounded. He has a Purple Heart. He has 2 Silver Stars. He saved people. He went into open gunfight, if you will, firefight, and did a couple of times and saved members of his brigade. So it's amazing. I was of that age that the Vietnam War was there, and the draft had been canceled. Even though I grew up with a very patriotic household, I never joined the military, and they probably wouldn't have taken me for my feet. As you know, I've had some surgeries over the year to correct that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's nothing that I regret, but I am very honored that my dad served the way he did, because World War II was tough. So, well, look, we'll continue here on the Moon Griffon Show. We're going to take this break. We want to hear from you. 844-766-6607. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show here on this Monday morning, day after Christmas. I'm Mark Pope, in for Moon Griffon, with producer Brandon on the other side for you regular listeners. We do want to hear from you. 844-766-6607, the Hickson Has It hotline. So give us a call. We're just kind of discussing how Christmas happened. Well, how was your Christmas? We're headed to the new year. And because we're in that time after Christmas, headed to the new year, we're going to kind of look at how things happened in 2016. So I'm looking at, as we all know, I think we can safely call this conservative talk radio. So let's do a little bit of a conservative bent. You look at what's happening in the news, and one of the headlines I read recently in the newspaper was Trump not uniting country. The country is still divided. Well, no joke. No joke. Country is still divided. Like it's a new thing. Like Donald Trump gets elected, and suddenly we're divided. We never were before. Everything was smooth and fine under President Barack Obama. Not so, folks. So I don't know. I hope that the media bias goes away, because it is very pronounced. It has been for a very long time. And, my wish for the new year, Brandon, is that without name calling, some of the folks out there who are screaming the loudest and all these protests, and really there's just a whole lot of silliness. I don't need to start itemizing things that are happening out there by our fellow Americans, but there is really a whole lot of silliness, and really it's a lot of immaturity. It's a lot of juvenile action. I just hope that levels out, because we do have a new president coming into office, and we need to give that person a chance. I gave Barack Obama a chance. I wasn't real impressed with what I heard, a lot of platitudes, hope and change. But I said, look, he's coming into office. He's going to be our president, and let's hope for the best. We are Americans. We do need to pull together. Why would you pull for somebody to fail when they are the leader of our country and the leader of the free world? As many say, one of the most powerful people in the world. I can't say most powerful men because, knock on wood, and Formica, we didn't have our first woman president. I'm ready for it, no doubt about that, but I'm surely glad it didn't happen in the person of Hillary Clinton.
There's a lot of women that would make a much better representation for women than Hillary Clinton would have. I think many people agree on that.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, Condoleezza Rice comes to mind, or, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher. We need a person of that stature and that political mindset to come in and lead our country. And I don't think Hillary was, this is just my personal take, I don't think she was the person. We would have stayed on the same track. And as everybody knows, all the polls, you listen to the polls, we're headed in the wrong direction. And so people were ready for that big, huge change.
When you put this election into perspective, Mark, it's amazing, because had the Democrats won, I mean, really, the Supreme Court would have been a lot different. But you look at the way that the Democrats right now are struggling across the board, all the seats that they've lost under this president, as compared to, say, if they'd have won, okay, it would be in a completely different America, I believe, for the next 4 years.
Yep.
It's amazing how pivotal. I mean, I've only been around a short time, 32 years. I can't think of a more pivotal election than this one, other than when Ronald Reagan was elected in the middle of the Cold War, and we know how that eventually ended.
Exactly right. So good points, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail. I think we have a short segment. That's it. See, Brandon's playing the music. It's time to get out. We do want to hear from you. 844-766-6607. Give us a call on the Hickson Has It hotline, and we'll be right back here on the Moon Griffon Show. Speaking word of wisdom. No, I can't sing. I can't
do it.
That's a beautiful song, though. And it's a beautiful show here, the Moon Griffon Show. This is Mark Pope sitting in for Moon. Moon is out for how long, Brandon? A couple of weeks?
It's going to seem like it, but he's out today, all through this week, and then he's out Monday of next week. As a matter of fact, all right, Moon is gone, but he's still with us. He sent me something this morning, and he told me he's sending me updates every day, so he wants me to share with the listeners. Sent me some fish that he caught. He went out to and he went fishing. He said, great end to Christmas Day, headed for another trip. Only caught 49 yesterday. Only 49.
Leave it to Moon. Moon's a great guy. Moon is a really great guy. Family man, as he said. I think one of Moon's big slogans is God, family, country.
Yes.
Yeah, in that order. And he lives it, folks. He lives it. What you hear coming out of his mouth, you can bank on it. You can also bank on the fish, because he's a big outdoorsman. Does Moon hunt? I know he loves fishing.
No, he's not. He's not really a hunter. He's a fisherman.
Fisherman.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I never really hunted. In my younger days, I fished quite a bit. But as life got busy and so on and so forth, it's been a while since I've fished. But it is an enjoyable pastime. So anyway, welcome back in. And this is the Moon Griffon Show. You will have substitute guests for the next couple of weeks. Stick with it, folks. You're going to hear some good guests. We're kind of in that this is kind of a funny day, because it's the day after Christmas. It's a Monday. A lot of folks are off. So the regular listening audience may not be out there. But if you are out there and you have a comment, we've just been kind of bantering about here. But if you have anything on your mind pertaining to Christmas, pertaining to the new year, pertaining to where we've been in 2016 and where we're going in 2017, that's kind of our topic of the day. So give us a call, 844-766-6607. That is the Hickson Has It hotline. We do want to hear from you. So how about sports, Brandon?
Yes.
There were 5 NBA games yesterday and a couple of football games. I know that the Steelers pulled it off at the
Ravens,
at the very end of the game. That was an exciting game. Who was the other game? Football game.
So the other
yesterday?
game was the Chiefs and the Broncos.
Ah, yes.
And the Chiefs are just getting stronger and stronger as the Broncos have been getting weaker and weaker.
Yep.
Man, I love watching the Chiefs, man. Not when they beat the Saints, but Tyreek Hill, who's this rookie, who's just the fastest man in the NFL, arguably. He's a wide receiver who they find ways to give him the ball out of the backfield as well. And the Chiefs, they come at you with speed out of the backfield and a lot of power.
Yeah.
They've got a quarterback who can run as well, Alex Smith. You know, it's a team that's just built for the playoffs, in my opinion. They run the ball effectively. They've got good defense. They can throw it when they need to. They're not going to throw eye-popping passing statistics at you,
right?
But they're going to do enough to get the job done. They're a throwback team in this era of spread them out type of football.
So you're speaking highly of the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Obviously, the Chiefs are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the Chiefs have a good shot of making it to the Super Bowl?
They got to get through the Patriots first.
The Patriots.
The Patriots only have 2 losses.
If you ask me in the AFC, who are the two teams? You have no choice. No, you can't. You can't waffle on me. You can't do name 3 and 4. I would say Patriots and Chiefs.
No doubt.
In the AFC championship game, and of course you've got the Ravens in there. And when was that game? That was Christmas Eve, I guess, huh?
What, the Ravens Steelers?
Ravens Steelers.
That was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Well, today kind of feels a little bit still like Christmas because it is the holiday today.
So much sports going on right now. Of course, one of the first games was the UL Ragin' Cajuns, headquartered here in the Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns, and that was 28-21. Southern Miss won that game. And then let's speak of a recent game. Let's cross the state, Brandon, and talk about Louisiana Tech and Navy. That was a barn burner. There were a lot of points in that game. I don't remember the final.
Was it 47-44 or 48-45, something like that?
Yes, indeed. So it was a very exciting game, and the Bulldogs came back and won it on a field goal, if I recall correctly.
You're right.
So congrats to Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech always has a competitive team. And this year, that offense, man, they have an offense. I tell you what, that's kind of what they're known for. So congratulations to the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. And LSU plays in the Citrus Bowl, and that would be on New Year's Eve. But it's really not. It's New Year's Eve day. I think they kick off at 11 o'clock our time, or is it 10 a.m.?
I have to look that one up.
Man, I love my nighttime football. I love but of course, I'm a big LSU fan.
I do too. I'm not a fan. I mean, I know NFL plays their football during the day, but college football to me is at its best when you're getting into 5, 6 o'clock at night.
I agree.
And I don't like the super late starts. I don't like the 8, 9 o'clock starts like you get on the West Coast. You know, they're obviously starting earlier over there, but over here it's like 8, 9 o'clock. I don't like football that late.
Yeah.
But I like it 5, 6 o'clock. That's like the perfect start time for college football for me.
Sure. Now, one of the reasons that LSU was pitted against Louisville is because of the explosive and dynamic Louisville offense and the very stingy and explosive LSU defense.
Yes.
I think I've had a couple of people say, and I don't know if it's just because they're LSU fans from their loyal Louisianians, that they expect LSU to mash Louisville. I don't expect that. But I expect a good game, and sometimes our expectations and predictions are off. But I expect a good football game on New Year's Eve.
I think people will argue that a team like Louisville has not faced many defenses such as what LSU brings to the table.
Right.
That's the thing for me. But also, people are concentrating so much on Leonard Fournette not playing. Seems like they forget that Geese, the running back for LSU, who is anything but a backup, they're going to be just fine. I don't think you really lose a beat without Fournette because of how good Geese is.
I
believe
it's
Geis. It's Geis. Yeah. Geis. I've heard it pronounced both ways.
Is it Derek?
Geis.
Derek?
Yeah.
Derek Geis. Yeah.
No, not Derek Geis. I think it's Todd Geis.
Both of us are off.
Yeah.
It's
I just remember
Geis.
about the last
But
name,
anyway, so the Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. Jackson, Lamar Jackson, Heisman Trophy winner for Louisville. I tell you what, it's going to be, but don't you think they're working on that now? Don't you think they're studying plenty of film? LSU defense is pretty top notch. I mean, if you look back over the season, one of the toughest games that Alabama had all year was against that LSU defense. And I didn't look at the stats. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I do know that that was one of Alabama's toughest games, that 10-0 victory over LSU. And they did not walk over them. Their stats were down from what they normally were. So LSU
Darius Geis.
Thank you very much.
You were closer than I was.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I said Derek. Darius Geis.
We're thinking of Derek, who we work with.
Yes, indeed. So that's it, of course, football. And you know what I was going to say, Brandon, starting this segment, is that I committed to what I consider to be one of the cardinal sins, and that is to do what is commonly called in radio or TV a tease, or kind of a look ahead. We're going to talk about this, and I said we were going to talk about things. Well, we are talking about things in 2016, but I kind of indicated we were going to talk about the country, and so I do not like that. Sometimes you hear teases for 3 different segments. We're going to talk about this, and I get all antsy and anticipating hearing about what they teased, and they don't run it till like 4 segments later.
But see, you're used to not even having to worry about teases because you're used to doing a full hour show.
Yeah.
See, for those that don't know, Mark did a local show here on TV where he went for just a straight hour, no commercials, just a straight hour of talking with people.
Yeah, this is true. What do they call it? A flow of consciousness or whatever, where you just kind of ramble and you have some notes in front of you. But anyway, of course, football is part of our life. It is a big part of Americana. If they came to Brandon Como and said, Brandon, we say that baseball is America's pastime, and we want you to make the call on that. Is baseball America's pastime, or is football?
Well, there's no doubt football is the more popular sport now, but I don't have a problem with people calling baseball America's pastime, because when I think of America's pastime, I think of, I guess the olden days, time, something that has stood through the test of time. It might not be the most popular now, but baseball is still very much beloved.
Yes.
Especially when you talk about Major League Baseball, and there's nothing like, the World Series, when you get, baseball in October and all that good stuff. I mean, if you ask me which sport I prefer, that's easily football. But there's something special about the game of baseball. The reverence that baseball pays, to our country. I mean, you look at baseball, you look at how the sport was picked up, even when our men were going to war, in like World War II, and how others just stepped up to, do the baseball leagues. You talk about the movie A League of Their Own and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How people just stepped up to fill in the roles because it was something that kept people entertained, kept people's spirits up. So I have a certain amount of reverence for baseball because I think baseball, the sport of baseball, has had such a reverence for our country.
Yeah, it's a good point. It really is a good point. And you could say it is a uniquely American sport.
Yes.
Uniquely American sport. I've actually heard some, I don't know if you want to call it controversy, but some doubts about the and I hope I don't mess this one up. Abner Doubleday.
Okay. Never heard the name, but all right.
Oh, come on. Oh, boy.
Abner Doubleday.
Who is the originator? Who gets the credit for coming up with the game of baseball?
Abner Doubleday? I don't know.
I think, and that's what, there's somebody out there saying, you big dummy. Here's who it is. So if you want to call in, I want to hear, if I got it wrong, I want to hear.
He is credited with it, Abner Doubleday.
Yeah, there you go. Ding, 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 ding,
ding. The summer of 1839.
Yep. Now, I'm sorry. That was some goofy-looking uniforms, and you can tell just from looking, because there is footage of the early days of baseball, Brandon, and you can see how athletes have advanced.
Oh, wow.
With their strength and their agility. I mean, strength. I just hit 2 things that are common in sports nowadays: strength and agility training. But not to say that they weren't excellent athletes, but and plus the footage, the recording devices, if you will, or the technology back in the days, early days of baseball, made them look even goofier. But it is a good sport, and it is a uniquely American sport. What are you reading on there?
Well, actually, I'm reading about Abner Doubleday, and now this is according to History.com, though. They're saying, you may have heard that Abner Doubleday invented the game known as baseball in Cooperstown, New York, during the summer of 1839. He then went on to become a Civil War hero while baseball became America's beloved national pastime. Not only is that story untrue, it's not even in the ballpark. So then it goes on, and you got to kind of read the whole thing. It says, It turns out the real history of baseball is a little bit more complicated than the Doubleday legend.
Yep.
So there's a whole lot of information there. We're probably not going to read all of it.
I got you.
It's more complicated than just saying that Abner Doubleday invented baseball.
I got you.
This is according to History.com. So
yes. Well, as always, with our age of technology, you go online and you're going to get conflicting stories. And so you do have to be a little bit careful in this age of technology.
Because they said you can trace this back all the way to the American Revolution, where variations of the games were played on the schoolyards and the college campuses. So it's just a lot to it.
Yeah. It is. But I think we can say with some certainty that it is a uniquely American sport, and so it is. I do like baseball. I agree with you. I prefer football.
And you wouldn't disagree that the game is very similar to cricket.
Yeah, well, yes. Yes, it's similar, but it's different.
So according to History.com, it says in 1846, the Knickerbockers played the first official game of baseball against a team of cricket players, beginning the new uniquely American tradition.
But hitting a ball on the ground versus trying to hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
But you can see the similarity. Well, back then they weren't throwing 100 miles an hour, I'm sure. You can see the similarities, though.
Yes. Well, that's our break. Final break of this hour. We're going to be back at the 10 o'clock hour, but give us a call on the Hickson Has It hotline, 844-766-6607. Politics, promise you, coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. Stay with us. And good morning to you. No bad moons here. It's all good moons, and there's no trouble on the way. We got 2017 on the way. Good morning to you. I'm Mark Pope, in for Moon Griffon. This is the Moon Griffon Show. If you're twisting the dial or however you do it or hitting your preset button, you are listening to the Moon Griffon Show throughout Louisiana. And I believe there's actually even some affiliates, in Texas, Brandon, for sure?
Well, we have people that can catch us in Texas.
I got you.
The affiliates are based there, but you can catch us across the Texas.
You
can catch across Texas into Arkansas and into Mississippi, so the border states.
Yes, indeed. But there are numerous stations throughout Louisiana. The Moon Griffon Show, baby. It's the one and only. It is a unique show here in Louisiana and statewide politics. We've kind of spent the hour reminiscing about Christmas, thinking ahead toward the new year, doing a little football. We've kind of been bouncing around. We're going to get back to the politics and some things that happened in 2016 and maybe do a little projections on what could be coming our way in 2017. I think we live in interesting times. I am hopeful and optimistic. Look, I was hopeful and optimistic in 2009, folks, when Barack Obama took over, because I am an American first, and you do want to see your president succeed to make the country better. Now, as I saw Barack Obama's policies unfolded, I said, no, if that is success, I do not want him to succeed. I must be honest. And the other side, the Democrats, are going to be the same way, because they're going to see the Donald Trump policies and say, well, if he's doing this and this, then no, I don't want to see him succeed. And this whole thing about we're a divided country, we always have been. I mean, the last time we really came together as a strong nation and we pulled together and we were as one was, unfortunately, around a disaster to our country. Our country was attacked. Now, that's the last thing we want to see, is our country being attacked. But we are naturally a divided country. It just comes with it. So anyway, but we have a short segment here, Brandon, so I don't know what else to say about the football. NFL, we didn't really go deep in depth with the NFL. Mm-hmm. So if you could, why don't you at least predict what you see as the NFC Championship game and then the AFC Championship game?
All right, so here's the thing. If you look at, because you see, we were talking about the AFC earlier, all right? We're talking about Kansas City. Now, Kansas City's not even sitting in first place in their own division.
Right.
Oakland Raiders are. But here's the thing. Oakland Raiders, their quarterback, Derek Carr.
That's a shame.
Broken fibula.
Yes.
It is a shame.
Yes.
Oakland's been a long-suffering franchise. Even when they were on top, they weren't exactly loved. For those that listen to KPL, Dr. John Sutherland is a big Oakland Raiders fan. So I kind of feel for him. I thought about him when I saw Derek Carr getting hurt.
Yeah.
Oakland beat the Saints in a game that really they got handed to them by the refs.
Yep.
Let's just be honest about that.
Yep.
But Oakland, throughout the season, has had a fantastic season. And so they sit in first place in the division, but they're not the best team coming out that division right now because their quarterback's hurt.
Because Carr was a big, big part of their success. So
it's interesting when you look at the AFC West. I really think the two best teams there are Kansas City and the Patriots. I know the Steelers have been surging lately. They're at 10-5. The Houston Texans are 9-6, but the Texans are in a weak division in the AFC South.
Yeah.
I really think your two best teams are Kansas City and the Patriots. Does that mean that they're going to meet in the AFC Championship game? Well, we're going to have to see how the seedings play out. That's another thing you got to remember as well. Sometimes the two best teams don't necessarily meet in the AFC or NFC Championship games. They meet a little bit early on because maybe one team is surging at a different time and they don't get that number 2 seed and they got to play the number 1 seed earlier. So you have to look at it. You got to look at it like that. But if you look at the NFC side right now, you've got Dallas, who's clearly at the top. You've got the Falcons, who I don't believe are going to be much of a factor in the playoffs. I don't think they will be. The Seahawks are 9-5-1, but the Seahawks are dangerous.
Yeah.
Even if they have to go on the road, they are such a dangerous team because they're so battle-tested. But they do play in a weak division, and we have to keep that in mind.
Right.
And you got the Detroit Lions and the Packers who are fighting it out in the NFC North. So, really, it seems like it's Dallas and everybody else, but I really think a team like Seattle that's been playoff-tested could pull off some quote-unquote upsets in the playoffs and find themselves getting to the Super Bowl.
Well,
I'm just not convinced of Dallas yet because I love what they do. I love that they've built around their offensive line and they run the football. That is such a formula for success. Mm-hmm. But these key pieces are so young, I just wonder how that's going to affect them once the playoffs come around. The playoffs are a different season.
Yes, they are.
You have to be reminded of that every year because it's absolutely true.
What do we wrap in about a minute? We wrap now. Okay, I see Baltimore and New England, AFC Championship. Okay. I see Dallas and Green Bay, NFC Championship. There you have it.
Well,
bada bing, bada boom.
Wait a minute. You're saying Baltimore or Pittsburgh? Because Baltimore's out.
Baltimore's out. Okay,
Pittsburgh eliminated them last night.
Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yep, Pittsburgh and New England. Okay, we're back at 10:05-ish. And right here on the Moon Griffon Show. Stay with us, folks. Good Monday morning to you, and welcome into the Moon Griffon Show here on this Monday after Christmas. And for those of you just tuning in who might be saying, well, this is not Moon. Who the heck? You say it's a Moon Griffon Show. Moon will be off for a couple of weeks, and he has substitute hosts. So today being the first day, Moon selected me. I'm honored. Let me tell you a little bit about me, because you might be saying, who is this Mark Pope that says he's substituting for Moon Griffon? So I've been in radio about 28 years here at News Talk 96.5 KPL in Lafayette, and our Town Square media family actually has 7 stations in the building. Does Moon ever mention that, Brandon?
I don't know. Maybe every now and then.
Yeah. So Moon is now based here in Lafayette, and as we know, this is a statewide talk show. I've been 28 years in radio, recently retired with our local government here in Lafayette. I was the environmental manager and have stayed in radio that whole time as a part-timer, and I'm going to stay here. I love radio, and so here we are. And we're going to kind of segue. We spent the last hour just talking about Christmas, the New Year, that type of thing, a little bit of sports. But, of course, most people tune into the Moon Griffon Show to talk a little bit of politics. So let's talk about where we've been and where we're headed. Brandon, of course, we have Donald J. Trump, who will assume the office of the presidency come January 20th. And we have Barack Obama, who is headed out. And I don't know. I don't like what President Obama is doing right now, because it seems as though he's making it more difficult for his successor to succeed. And here are just a few of the things. The pardons and commutations. We had a discussion about this last week, And I had heard that President Obama was just on a tear with the pardons and commutation. A pardon means it's expunged from your record. So if you were a felon and you were pardoned, that means that you had, as a felon, lost the right to vote. But because you are pardoned, now you can vote. And a commutation means you're just released early, although the crime stays on your record. And President Obama, I've heard this twice now, he has pardoned or given clemency to more people than the previous 11 presidents combined. And a lot of those are for drug offenses. It's all about this criminal justice reform. And quite honestly, I think it's bogus. It makes our country less safe and more dangerous. And I know that's redundant, but it needs to be said. Less safe and more dangerous by what President Obama is doing. And that is but one thing as to what the president is doing. Brendan, we were talking about the UN resolution that's up before the UN Security Council. And basically, that resolution is denouncing Israel for their settlements over in the West Bank. That's a real quick summary of what's going on there. And normally that would be vetoed by the United States, but we are not. And it seems to be that is the choice of President Obama.
Well, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, he said yesterday, quote, "We have no doubt that the Obama administration initiated it," talking of the UN resolution, "stood behind it, coordinated on the wording, and demanded that it be passed." So it's one thing to abstain from the veto, but it's another thing to say that the U.S. was actually behind the resolution in the first place.
Yeah. And that's but one man, and we know that Prime Minister...
very educated man.
Exactly, yeah. Benjamin Netanyahu. That's a very, very smart man. Israel is our ally. We need to make that alliance as strong and viable as we can, and I think under a President Trump, that is going to happen. The Obama administration has not been good at fostering and strengthening that alliance, and it needs to be done. I'm looking forward to a lot of the things that are going to happen under a Trump administration. So anyway, with that, we've kind of set the table. I believe we have a call up. Caller, welcome into the Moon Griffon show. Who is this, please?
Yeah, this is Ro.
Hello, Ro. Where are you from in Louisiana?
And Lafayette here.
Right here in Lafayette. Okay, what's on your mind this morning, Ro?
Okay, I just got one question for you, and I'll hang up and listen. I've heard that Marion Robertson, Michelle Obama's mother, is going to get a retirement of $160,000. Is that true or not? Now hang up and listen.
Well, as we okay, thank you, Ro. Appreciate that call. We have a staff down in the basement. We send in, I don't know that Moon reveals that a lot. We send that down and they kind of look things up. I do not know. I cannot answer that. There are a whole lot of things that go on in Washington, D.C. I think that President-elect Trump is correct in saying we need to drain the swamp. And there are things that many of us agree with what he's doing. And there are some things that we may not agree with what he's doing. But he is, by all appearances, he does seem to be bringing forth some changes that are going to be pretty dramatic. Those kind of things need to be looked into. I know there's some questions about the Trump family being contributors to the Trump administration, but I don't believe they're going to be paid staff members. But things like that need to be, they need to be nixed. They need to go away.
Well, then it all depends on who you trust for your source of news. Because when I did a quick search on this, Snopes.com claims that the claim that Marion Robinson will get a $160,000 annual government pension, they're saying is fake.
Yep.
So it just depends on who your news sources are and who you trust. And I've been saying this, especially for the past few weeks and with this election and stuff, it is hard when you're talking about on a national news level. It is hard to know and trust anymore what is fake news or what is not.
Right. Yes, indeed. I could not agree with you more. Brandon, I'm going to pick up on that key phrase you used, fake news. This whole thing about the Russians did it with a segment of our population that's spoiled, that will not give up these protests and some of them are violent. And it is not the American way. We do have a right to protest and speak our mind, but some of these protests are way over the top. So, fake news. The Russians did it. The Russians did it. What did they do? Even if the Russians were involved, they took emails that were actual and factual, and they released them. So they don't like the content of the emails and what was stated, and they wanted it doesn't. Just common sense and logic, if you look at it, why would the Russians want Donald Trump in office as opposed to Hillary Clinton? Because I just don't get it. But I think the main point in this is, what did they do? They influenced the election. Well, they're doing that for the people who don't think. They're making them think that they went in and they broke into various machines and they changed the votes. No, even if they were involved, they released some emails, but by all indications, that is not the case.
If we're talking about foreign countries involved in the election, I mean, look at all the money that's come from other countries into Hillary Clinton's camp. Saudi Arabia, for one, that's money that influences an election. Why?
Right.
Because it allows her to buy ads to be able to do all the advertising she did against Donald Trump.
Exactly.
So if you're going to accuse one side of one, be honest and do it on your own self, but that's not going to happen.
It's true. And over the years, especially in this age of technology, it has become commonplace whereby our, how shall we say, our enemies, if you will, people who are looking at us the closest, countries like China and Russia, go in and they hack the information. They want to know what some of the potential policies could be that are the policies espoused by the various candidates. So this is nothing new, that these countries hack into databases trying to gain information and be able to look ahead and do a little bit of projection. Candidate A has this policy, candidate B this policy. So this is nothing new. It's not as though this is something coming out of left field. It's just something that we're just now hearing about now. Quite honestly, I think it's bogus, and I think that what is intended by the Democrat Party to put forth in people's mind, they're succeeding to a degree, because a lady on a call-in show last night kept saying over and over, well, how could they hack into the voting machines? And the host of the talk show kept saying, no, ma'am, that is not it. They hacked into the DNC database. So anyway, it's just a little bit devious as to what's being planned right now. I believe we have a caller up. Caller, who is this, please, and where are you calling from?
Hey, that caller ID's not working, huh? It's
Hey.
Carol from
Hey, Carol.
Hey, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, well, you were back on the Marion Robinson pension, and, these kinds of things are perfectly plausible with the Obamas because they've flaunted the law ever since they've been in there with his overreach, these executive orders, et cetera. So it's a plausible story, but it's not true. And I don't necessarily trust Snopes, so I went on several different sites to track this down. What happened was there's a fake website that calls itself the Boston Tribune, and it's just an online moniker that they gave themselves, and so many people think it's actually a newspaper, a legitimate newspaper, and they fall for a lot of these stories that they drop, and other places pick them up. But anyway, that was the origin of it. And no, it's written into law, but when has that ever mattered to the Obamas? That the spouses and family members of the president cannot receive a pension. So
yeah, that's very interesting. And in 2017, which as we know is less than a week away, we're going to have to become more savvy consumers of news and information.
Skeptical of every source of information that you get. Triple source it at least, and especially the online sites. And the problem is, so many of the millennials and the younger people, and they see something online and automatically it's true. I mean, The Onion has made, has done really well because they do these satiric fake news stories that you'd think anybody could figure out, but over and over again, people fall for them.
Yep.
So that's similar to what happened here. Yeah.
Sure.
But, I mean, you wouldn't put it past the Obamas now, would you?
No. And I'm sure The Onion has some very good minds, some creative people that are doing creative writing, and it will reel you in. And so
exactly.
you have to be very cautious. Carol, let me ask.
You guys are doing a great job. So good to talk to you all.
Well, same here. I believe you're going to be on here substituting for Moon here in the next couple of weeks at some time.
Right, exactly. I'll be here there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll be listening.
Yeah, we got a few things lined up. I got to put my head together with Brandon and see what we can come up with.
Well, a Brandon and a Carol head, that double-headed monster, that's pretty significant.
I have a little song parody in mind. I'll get with you, Brandon.
Nice.
There you go.
Looking forward to it, Carol.
Okay, thanks for calling, Carol.
Okay. All right, y'all have a great day.
Happy New Year. Yes. So, break time. All right, you are listening to the Moon Griffon Show. We'd like to hear from you. We'll be back after this short break. Give us a call. Write it down, 844-76-6607. Hickson Has It hotline. We'll be right back. Stay there. And good Monday morning, day after Christmas. This is Mark Pope filling in for Moon Griffon. You are listening to the Moon Griffon Show throughout Louisiana, the most unique talk show syndicated throughout the state. So we do have a line for you. It's the Hickson Has It hotline. We'd like to hear from you. It's 844-766-6607. Give us a call. We're talking a little politics now and 2016, where we've been, 2017, where we're headed. So, Brandon, it came to mind, our last caller, Carol, mentioned that about, I don't know, she did mention executive orders.
Yes.
And my question was, or is this, and I want to get your take on it, do you believe that the Trump administration and his advisors, and I don't know exactly which of his advisors, probably multiple advisors, would be looking right now at all the executive orders done over the last 8 years by President Obama? Do you think there is a running list of which executive orders to overturn?
Yes, and I personally believe that President Obama is hoping that they're keeping a running list and hoping that the Trump administration comes in and seeks to nullify those executive orders, because once that happens, then President Obama has a reason to stick around even more so and, get the rallying call around him as he continues to be the face of the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
and I really believe that that's what a lot of this is for. It's all set up by design.
It could be. And the president, we talked a little bit about some of the things he's doing with that recent or current, you would say, UN resolution. We talked about the pardons and commutations. There are more regulations being imposed right now by President Obama, and it seems as though he's sabotaging the incoming President-elect Trump. And, if I heard this on a reputable news source, I believe it was Fox News, talked about how President George W. Bush, as he was preparing for President Obama to come in, went along with some Democrat legislation that he did not agree with, but to be an agreeable person and for the good of the nation, he went along with this legislation. He did not veto it.
But was it really for the good of the nation is my question, though.
Well, it may
have been intended for the good of the nation, but did it actually work for the good of the nation?
Well, I think he was doing it in the spirit of cooperation in that I'm outgoing, you're incoming, President Obama is incoming. And, we don't know all the behind-the-scenes politicking that goes on, and it's tremendous. So how many representatives and senators were over at the White House talking to President Bush saying, we'd like this to happen. We'd like this to happen. Oh, come on, George. Come on. We have a new president coming in. And President Bush, this is, of course, all speculation on my part. But the bottom line is President Obama is certainly not doing that. He is greasing the skids, as it were, for President President-elect Trump to have a tough time to start things off. That is certainly, if you look at all the things that are happening, that is an easy conclusion to come to.
Most definitely.
No doubt about it. Now, let me talk briefly about the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and President-elect Trump's choice to fill that top administration official or position in the EPA. And that person would be Scott Pruitt, the Attorney General of Oklahoma. And Mr. Pruitt actually sued the EPA. I don't remember the details of that lawsuit. and he wrote several, from my understanding, I'm using that term loosely, several letters of not to commend, but I almost said of commendation, several letters denouncing actions of the EPA. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that the EPA is, of course, they are necessary. And so if you hear a lot of scare tactics and a lot of overreaction that Mr. Pruitt is not for the EPA, he's against the EPA. Well, no, we do need regulations. There's no doubt about that. And I'm speaking from experience of being an environmental professional, even on a local government basis. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go ahead after this break. So we do want to hear from you. 844-766-6607. Hickson Has It hotline. Stay right there. We'll be right back on the Moon Griffon Show. Show. It is the Monday after Christmas. Good morning to you, and this is Mark Pope filling in for Moon Griffon. Moon will be out for a couple of weeks, so you're gonna have a I was gonna say a plethora, Brandon, but you're not gonna have thousands of people. You're going to have numerous substitute hosts for Moon over the next.
Break it down for you
of the next couple of weeks. Nah. Let somebody else do it. Carol has 2 days later this week. Maybe she'll break it. Yeah, 3 days. 3 days.
I can tell you, Brett Guyman will be tomorrow.
Yeah,
State Representative Brett Guyman.
Do this week.
Yes, this week is Brett Guyman tomorrow, and
Carol
Ross Wednesday through Friday.
Bam. Yep. You know, I don't know if Carol is going to talk about. Carol also has many years in radio. And so I always look forward to hearing her when she's on the air. So I'll look forward to later in the week. Brett Guyman should be interesting, too. Mm-hmm. So we'll be listening. Give us a call, 844-766-6607, the Hickson Has It hotline. We do want to hear from you. I want to briefly summarize what we talked about going into that last break. I want to talk a little bit right now about the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the person that Mr. Trump has cited as being his top administrator in that department of the government. Mr. Pruitt is going to be criticized. The hearings might be tough because he has sued the EPA. He has denounced them on a lot of their actions. I think it's a good thing. The EPA needs to be knocked down about 3 notches. And I was in the local government, an environmental professional. I did have experiences with the EPA. I'm gonna cite you one experience. We have what's called under the local governments, local governments have under the Clean Water Act something called a storm water program, and it's a good program. It's that you're trying to keep pollutants, which is dirt and debris, out of the waterways. And so local governments were mandated back years ago, and that may be challenged in the Trump administration, were mandated to have a stormwater program to prevent these pollutants from getting into the waters of the United States, as they're commonly called. So we had an EPA person, the headquarters for what we call Region 6, which is states in the southeast and southwest. The headquarters is in Dallas. So this administrator came down from Dallas, and they were going on a tour with us around Lafayette Parish to look at our program, our stormwater program. And I guess you'd say the conclusion of this person, this EPA administrator, and this is a low-level bureaucrat. We're not talking about somebody who's deputy secretary of the EPA. She said, this was her summary: you guys are doing pretty well for a mid-sized city, but you need another inspector or you're looking at a fine. We could fine you. We might fine you. So a threat. So the EPA needs to be knocked down about 3 levels. And that's but one example, my personal experience. There are things that are based on the Clean Water Act and the whole wetlands thing that are just so over the top and so crazy and so insane. I believe years ago, I don't know how many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, they took out of the designation of a wetland a puddle. You have water that puddles. And they did finally, with a little bit of sanity, took that out. But there are such harsh rules and regulations telling you what you, a private property owner, can and cannot do that really don't. It's bogus. They don't have an environmental impact. And yet, because the EPA designates that they do, we have to live with that. So give us your input. We'd like to hear from you. I believe we have a caller up, actually, too. Hello, caller. Welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. Who is this, please, and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Paul in Pineville.
Hey, Paul. Good morning. What's on your mind?
How are you?
Yes, sir. Good, and yourself?
I want to give you a little information on the earlier thing you was talking about from Fox News about Bush trying to cooperate with Obama.
Yes, sir.
Remember the bank bailout?
Yes, sir.
$0.7 trillion?
Yep.
Bush gave that in to Obama. He said, I'll let that go on my watch. It'll be okay.
Yep. Good point. Yep. Good point. That's excellent point. Yep. So I was just giving Go ahead, Paul.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
So $7.7 trillion of Bush's $4.3 trillion was Obama's money, not Bush's.
Yep, that's a very good point.
People need to remember that when they're doing their math on who spent what.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a happy New Year,
yes,
guys.
Sir. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for calling. Okay, welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. Who is this, please?
This is Mike in Rain.
Hey, Mike. How you doing, sir?
All right. I want to tell Mark is one of the sensible environmental people that I think can carry on the conversation. Most of them can. But the reason for my call this morning is my pet peeve of being in the environmental business and in the oil field for years. Everything we did was under permits issued by the Corps of Engineers, and at the time they were legal, or what we did was legal, and then later on we got something called legacy lawsuits came and was passed by the legislature, and that's a nightmare for my company and the oil companies. But the one thing I wanted to point out is that coastal erosion is the global warming of Louisiana, in that there's not a coastal erosion problem in Louisiana or on the Gulf Coast that can't be repaired. There are companies with the technology to build a dike around Louisiana if you wanted to.
Right.
Javelar Construction, Zelius Energy, Sunland Construction. Those people can do anything with dirt or mud, water, and not to beat a dead horse, but I think the common sense has been lost on coastal erosion and as well as global warming.
Well, it's was it doggone it, the military guy out of New Orleans. I can't think of his name. Help me out, Brandon. Help me out.
Honoré?
Honoré. Yeah. He is a soldier. They're a soldier in this environmental war on coastal erosion. And look, in all fairness, we do have to say that in the early days of the oil field, when we started expanding exploration and drilling and production in just off the coast of Louisiana, a lot of those wetlands, which are true and valid wetlands, were cut up. And it's like a lot of things in the early days pertaining to the environment. We didn't know the ramifications of what we were doing. So how can you come in and want to damage these oil companies? We know the common sense thing. What you're saying is if you let these legacy lawsuits go through and you try to extract the money from all these companies, which you're saying destroyed our environment, they're not going to do business in Louisiana. So we have to have a slow and cautious common sense approach to solving that coastal erosion issue.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. They're not going to do business except for the shale in North Louisiana. A major oil company, Chevron, Texaco, Exxon, not one major oil company drills on land in Louisiana anymore, and because of environmental regulation. Yeah. So that the time, but the legacy lawsuits are such a pain because when you follow the money out of the millions of dollars that's been granted under those suits, only 3% of that money has gone to repairing supposedly the land or the damaged properties, like out in the Evangeline Field and other places.
Good point. Good point.
Gone to landowners and lawyers.
Yep, exactly right. And we do have to work on it. and it's something that didn't happen overnight. We're not going to fix it overnight, but we just need to have a common sense approach to it and realize that this happened decades and decades ago, and we've learned our lesson since, and we have to solve it in a common sense, financially or fiscally responsible way. So good points. Excellent points, all of yours. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Thanks for calling. So give us a call. We're talking about the Trump administration coming in, and we'd like to get your thoughts on it. We'll continue the conversation. Give us a call, 844-766-6607. Hickson Has It hotline. Back on the Moon Griffon Show after this. Welcome back to the Moon Griffon Show. Mark Pope sitting in for Moon with producer Brandon on the other side. Give us a call, 844-766-6607. Hickson Has It hotline. And speaking of the hotline, we have Joey standing by from Abbeville. Joey, welcome into the Moon Griffon Show.
Hey, good morning, news guys.
Good morning.
I was listening, y'all talking about all this environmental stuff, the global warming and all that stuff.
Right.
If you head west from here and go toward Arizona and Nevada, there's a big old friggin' ditch in the middle of nowhere out there that got dug by, some natural causes or whatever. Who are we going to sue for that?
You're right. Wait. Big old ditch as in the GC, the Grand Canyon?
The Grand Canyon, yeah. Think about it. That is erosion to the max.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Is it still happening, the erosion?
Of course.
It still happens, right?
Of course.
Same thing with oil. That process that created the oil, did it stop when we tapped it?
Right.
It's still happening. Every day it's still happening.
Exactly.
We cannot control what happens to this planet. I don't care what you say. We cannot control it. Global warming is a hoax. It's a money grab. It's just, we can't control what goes on this planet, and we never will. And only the good Lord is in control.
Well, you've got good points, and I liked your analogy, if you want to call it an analogy, of a big ditch that just kind of popped up over in the Southwest.
Who are we going to blame for that?
Yeah,
who's going to blame for that?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Things happen, and we can't stop it.
Yep.
Just hold on for the ride.
Well, Joey, listen, because I'm gonna you sparked a bit of a memory in the Abbeville area, so I'm gonna talk about environmentalism, global warming versus climate change, and I'm gonna bring up an issue that happened in Abbeville and talk about common sense environmental laws. So, but you make good points, and I like your passion, and Happy New Year to you.
Hey, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, man. It ain't over. It goes for 12 days, remember?
That's right. I forgot to say Happy Hanukkah. Thanks for reminding us, Joey. Appreciate that.
Take care, guys.
Yes,
Bye.
sir. Joey brings up good points, and he talks about environment and so on, and we can't affect it. And that's true to a large degree. And I mentioned that I have experience working in local government as an environmental professional. And people would always say, "Oh, so Mark, you're an environmentalist." And I'd say, "No, I'm not," because words mean things, and there is a connotation you get when you say an environmentalist. I am not an environmentalist, because when you use that word, in my view, it conjures up a lot of extreme views, which I do not hold. So, do I care about the environment? Yes. What do you call yourself? In this age of branding, as it were, and identity politics, I am an environmental advocate. Do what you can as an individual, and if you are involved with a company, especially if you're in the in upper management of a large company that deals with things like chemicals and so on, and proper disposal, and yes, following regulations are necessary, then you follow those regulations and you take your environmental responsibility serious. And I consider that to be an environmental advocate. I do not like the extremism of what comes with somebody that calls himself or herself an environmentalist. All right. And then speaking of global warming, see, you got to remember, folks, global warming does not exist anymore. That as a term went away. And that is because the people who believe in that, the environmentalists, realize that the data, the science, remember all of this is science. A lot of it is based on computer models. Garbage in, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you enter improper data into your climate change model, you can manipulate it. And so it's not really science. So the left, the extremists that had dubbed it global warming said, oh, wait a minute. The globe is not warming. It's actually slightly cooling. And when you talk about cooling or warming, regardless, you're talking about a fraction of a degree. So the people actually looked at the hard science and they said, we're not warming. We're actually cool. Oh, so we better change. We better rebrand. We better rebrand and call it climate change. And any, how shall we say, undesirable climate activity, you see, it's anthropomorphic climate change. The humans are affecting it. No, it's bogus. The climate has changed for 4.5 billion years. This earth was frozen. This earth was steaming. It's changed. Before we had human beings and before we had the Industrial Revolution, before we had automobiles and smokestacks and factories, the earth was going from being frozen solid to being sweltering. You know, up in the Northeast right now where they may be frozen in, I don't know, I haven't tuned into that weather recently, up in the New England states, do you realize that millions of years ago, in the age of the dinosaur, they had weather just as hot and humid and swelty as we do down here in Louisiana? Because of, quote, climate change. Things changed. Now, and I guess, yeah, of course I'm trying to be cutesy and do a little bit of a pun. Was that due to dinosaur flatulence? Is that why the climate changed? Remember, we didn't have factories. We didn't have automobiles. But yet there were palm trees and lush greenery all throughout the Northeast, all in the New England area. And the climate changed. So you have to be, we don't factor in the sun. We don't factor in all the other things, all the other complicating factors that are part of our climate and our changing climate. And just because human beings came along and some environmentalists said, you're destroying the environment, that doesn't mean that suddenly we, the nasty, evil human beings, are totally responsible for this climate change. Do I think that human beings could be affecting the changing climate? To a very small degree, but we have to be cautious, and it's really not science. And the other thing that I forgot to bring up, which to me is profound, what about the dishonest academics who were doctoring data and who, due to WikiLeaks and due to those nasty people, the Russians, who I don't know if the Russians put out information to try to take the election away from Hillary Clinton. Again, that's tongue in cheek. But due to information being leaked out, this information was tapped into. You had academics who were paid tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in this climate change industry. And we have evidence right in front of us that these were a bunch of dishonest people who were trying to doctor their data to make it appear that their climate change model would be the rule of the day, would be the science of the day. It's not. It's to a large degree this climate change hoax. I think it's a hoax. First thing comes to mind, no other word popped into mind, is manufactured. It's a moneymaker for the government. How much money does the Department of Energy give to this climate change? So anyway, give us a call. That was a long rambling on environmentalism and how you view it and how I view it. Give us your take. 844-766-6607. The Hickson Has It hotline. We'd like to hear from you. We're coming up on a short break. Oh, we're about to wrap the hour, right, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. Time does fly when you do this show.
Time flies when you're having fun. So, look, Brett Guyman tomorrow on a big Tuesday.
Yep.
Will be in substituting for Moon.
Mm-hmm.
This is Mark Pope. I substituted for Moon today. It was a great privilege and honor. I've been listening to Moon for years, I think, since he first appeared on the radio. How do you appear on the radio?
I know. I thought about that too.
Yeah. And then Brett's tomorrow, and then Carol Ross in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That's right.
It's going to be a great week. Mm-hmm. And the following week as well, Moon will be out.
Well, just the Monday.
Just the Monday.
And that'll be Shannon Wilkerson.
Shannon Wilkerson. So Moon will be back, I don't remember.
Tuesday of next week.
Tuesday, I think that's I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it. But it's been fun. It's been fun being with you guys. Enjoy the week. Hey, be responsible out there. If you're going to drink, designated driver, use Uber. There's programs all throughout the state. Don't get on the road if you've had too much to drink. Happy New Year. It's going to be a great one, and we'll see you sometime down the road. Enjoy yourself.